Alrighty, everyone, we're going to get started today. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you showing up and your interest in financial security. I am presenting with Chad Edwards. He's our Vice President of Information Technology, and I'm Kim Nesbitt, the Security Officer here at First National Bank. Our goal is to educate you, but also have this interactive, so if you have questions, but definitely feel free to stop us and engage and have some open dialogue. So first of all, we're going to touch base on elder financial exploitation. So what is it? It's fraudulent or otherwise illegal, unauthorized, or improper act or process of an individual that uses the resources of an older person for personal benefit, profit, or gain. Anyone can be a victim of elder financial exploitation. It does not matter your social, education, economic background. Anyone can be victim. They say right now 1 in 44 cases of financial exploitation is only reported. That's very little when you think about that. And 1 in 20 older adults feels that they have had some sort of financial exploitation. So why are older adults at risk? Some older adults may have regular income, have accumulated assets. They're vulnerable due to grief from maybe a loss of a family member. They're reluctant to report exploitation of a caregiver or a family member. You don't want to turn somebody in because you rely on them, you depend on them, you need them to take care of you or get you to and from appointments, take care of your personal business. By receiving care from a person with financial or other issues. A lot of times you fear retaliation, that if you're going to turn somebody in for financial exploitation, that they're not going to help you. They're not going to want to become part of your everyday life. So the list goes on. So who are the abusers? People you know. That's the big one. 90% of elder financial exploitation is somebody you know, a trusted family member or someone else you trust. So people you know, family members and caregivers, friends, neighbors, or acquaintances, agents under power of attorney, or a financial advisor. It can also be strangers, and we're going to get into the stranger piece of this later in our presentation, but all sorts of scams that are out there, and we're going to educate you today on that. So telephone and mail scammers, internet, home repair contractors, Medicare scam operators, romance scams, and many others you'll learn about. So who can help? Adult Protective Services. Every county you live in has Adult Protective Services. Obviously, we have offices in River Falls and here in Prescott, and so we separate between Pierce and St. Croix counties. So the phone numbers are listed and at your resource. You can also call the non-emergency local line. Sorry, that's a River Falls number. You can call your police department, ask them questions, get help. I get a lot of calls throughout the day where people are having questions, and a lot of times I refer them to their local police department. It's always good to have that authority to have that conversation. And they're more than willing to take their time and have discussion with you. One thing on the who can help, Wisconsin has safe harbor laws. And so as a bank, we are able, if we see financial exploitation on the backside, banks are typically, or any financial institution, we're usually the first line of defense. We're the ones that see transactions, we see you coming and going, our customer base. We see who you're coming with, we see your caregivers that are with you. Things that are unnormal. All of a sudden you're going to wire out a large lump sum of money. Why? We might ask you questions, and we're doing that to protect you, but also to protect the bank. The second a wire's gone, that money is gone. It's almost impossible to receive that money back, okay? So if we start asking questions, it's okay. We're trying to help you, and that is our goal and what we do. So financial institutions see a lot of the things that go on. So if anyone ever suspects that, you can also reach out to someone here at the bank. Have a question. If you're caring for somebody else or you feel that something's going on and you're just not sure, definitely feel free to have a conversation. Our bankers are excellent. They'll usually get me involved, and we'll have a pretty detailed conversation about what's going on.
That one number is a courthouse, isn't it?
Yep, so they're both at the county.
Is that the Office on Aging then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, ADRC, so, yep. So common scams. So Chad and I are going to kind of tag team this. So there's a list of common scams here that we'll go over, and I'm going to actually turn this over to Chad because now it's more of the IT portion.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
So my goal with some of this, kind of to bring some awareness to you of things to watch for, scare you just a little bit, and then bring it back and tell you just some common, simple things that you can do to help protect yourself when something like this comes your direction, okay? So, back in the day when we started doing these sort of security trainings, the only links that you had to worry about was something in email, right? So now, a lot of us have cell phones, right? How many people have a cell phone with a smartphone, okay? So, if you get a text message, a lot of those text messages now will try to direct you to the website. So all of these are links, right? If you click any of these links, they're going to bad places. They can try to take over your phone. There's protections against that, keeping your phone up to date, same as your computer. But number one protection against this is common sense, right? So the top one is congratulations, you've won a Walmart gift card. Okay. Did you apply for a Walmart gift card? Do you think if you won one that they're going to send you a text message telling you and direct you to a website? Probably not. The other ones are pretty generic as well. And then the other thing you can see with these is the links that they go to, right? So the one that says Walmart gift card up here does not go to Walmart. It goes to bit.ly, which is, it's a URL shortener. It's trying to hide where it's going. So that's kind of the main thing about if you get a text message or an email that has a link, you need to really interrogate where those links are going.
So when they get our code, if you do that, what happens with our information? How do they get it?
So there's a lot of different ways that they'll try to mine your information. So we'll get into that a little bit, but basically what they're going to try to do is they'll either direct you to a website where they're going to ask you for some sort of information. So like, let's stay with the Walmart example, right? If I click on that, it's probably going to go to a website that says Walmart, right? They copy and paste the Walmart logo. It'll ask you for some sort of information, usually confidential information, or they'll start a string back and forth with you and try to get your trust, and then they'll ask you for information. They could also, just by clicking a link, they can try to infect your computer or your phone. And then they can do things like either lock you out of it, or they can just eavesdrop on all your conversations, okay? There's a lot of things out there. Like I said, I want to scare you a little bit, right? And then try and bring it back and let you know what you can do to protect yourself.
And they can get access to your contact list too, right?
Sure.
And then send it off to everybody in your contact list.
Yep, it depends what specifically they infect your device with, but yeah, some of them will just try to take over your device, some of them will email or text themselves out to everybody. How many of you have ever seen on Facebook or something like that where you have a friend that sends out another friend request, right?
Yeah.
And the next day they say, hey, don't accept any friend requests from me, my account was hacked, right? A lot of those happen because of clicking a link, okay? And a link can be an article, like there might be something in Facebook or an ad or something that somebody shares that it doesn't have a link like this, but it has a picture or something that when you move your mouse over it, it shows that you can click on it, it'll bring something up. All of those goes somewhere on the internet. So you have to really be careful and decide if that, number one, is trustworthy, and number two, is it really worth it? Is it something you need to try to get access to? Okay? Yeah?
Is the best way to deal with one of those to block it?
You can block it or just ignore it. My number one rule of thumb, and what everybody at the bank will tell you, I say do not click on links. So if there's something you need to find information about, there's always another way to do it without following one of those blind links. Okay?
Just delete it, huh?
Just delete it, yeah. Unless it's something you absolutely need. And let's face it, is there something in text or email that if you do not follow the directions, click on a link, that it's catastrophic? Probably not. There's another way to do it. If we at the bank would ever need to contact you and have you take some sort of action, we're not going to rely on an email to do it. Okay?
They would call on the phone then?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Just a couple of examples of what links can do. So when I say don't trust links, I don't know how good you can see this, but this link in this email, which is legit by the way, but it says it's going to www.sans.org and then a couple other things. If you hover over a link, it tells you where it's actually going, okay? So this is actually using a email tracking, and you can see that the actual link is not what's down here, right? It's a lot longer than that, okay? So, and this is even a legitimate link. If I look at another one, This is one we just created. So if I hover over this link with my mouse, it says www.goodsite.com/free gift. Okay. If I hover over it, it actually is trying to go to badsite.com/yourhack. So any text that you put in a link as a programmer, you do not have to send the actual clicker to that address. You can put something behind the scenes that sends them somewhere totally different. That make sense? Okay. So you can hover over any links and see where it's going to go, but again, my #1 rule is do not click links. Okay? Then you don't have to worry about it.
So then they go away by themselves after a while.
Yeah, if you put it in a deleted email, I mean, it's deleted items, right? Yeah. Just a couple terms for you, and these kind of have expanded, but phishing started out years ago, it was just email phishing. There are now text messages, even web pages that try to trick unsuspecting users into revealing their personal financial information. It's also, like I said, they may not be looking for information. It might just be you click that link and boom, your computer's infected. Okay. Email spoofing, and we'll talk about this with phone numbers too. Email addresses disguised to look like that of someone that you may know. And I'll show you a couple examples of this, but just because an email says it's from the President of the United States at government.com or something like that, that doesn't mean that that's really where that came from. Anybody can put in their reply to address or their send as address as anything they want. So just because an email address says it's coming from somebody doesn't mean it's from that person. The same thing with phone numbers. You've all heard of a phone number, your caller ID comes across, and it says, maybe it says it's from First National Bank of River Falls. There's tools out there people can use to put their phone number in and spoof a caller ID name.
Well, how are you supposed to trust it?
Call the bank.
Scary,
So
yeah.
if you ever got a phone call that said it was from First National Bank of River Falls, right? And hey, this is Scott from First National, I need to verify some information with you. It is 100% okay to say, you know what, I'm going to call it back. So don't let him give you a phone number, right? Use the phone number you have on file for the bank. Call and say, hey, I need to talk to Scott. That's a perfectly acceptable way of doing it. We actually like when customers do that, okay? Because it might not be us. There's things out there called robocallers and caller ID spoofing and all sorts of things. So you'll see in one of our slides, I say trust no one. And then, again, trying to scare you a little bit, but this stuff is true.
What I've noticed lately, because I have a landline, I have to have it because I'm out in the country and I don't have really good reception, so I have to have a stupid landline too. But what I've noticed is that a lot of those spoofers or whatever they're called are using local 425s.
Sure.
And then you think it's a local number that
Oh, yeah.
that you feel comfortable with. And one time I got one from myself.
Really?
Myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on my caller ID
Sure.
it said me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Then
great.
you kind of figured it out, huh?
Well, I called, who did I call? I called, I can't remember, I called somebody and I said, oh yeah, I know, my phone company. I said, how are they doing this? And then they explained it all to me.
Yeah. So I don't answer phone numbers unless it's somebody that I have in my contact list. Now, if it's if it comes into my work phone number, then sometimes I'll have to answer them. It might be somebody from California with a River Falls number. So hang up on it.
Well, if I call you, don't answer.
All right. So with regards to email, there's a couple things that we call red flags, okay? So you might be thinking, okay, what if I get an email that has a link? How do I know if I should trust it? Well, what's the first thing that I am telling people? What's my #1 rule about links?
Don't
click.
Don't click links. Perfect, okay? So how do you know, though, there are other things that you can look for in an email to decide, yeah, this is definitely a bad email, right? So we call them red flags. So #1 would be the sender address. So again, I said this can be spoofed. So this one says it's from Security Bank, and it's from accounts.securitybank@gmail.com. Anybody can make a Gmail account. And like I said, with spoofing, anybody can put in anything as an email sender address. Okay, so you can't trust the sending address at all. But sometimes there's red flags, right? So this obviously is not from Security Bank. Security Bank is not going to have a Gmail account.
Yeah.
Okay. The other one is a sense of urgency. subject, action required. A lot of times hackers will try to use a sense of urgency to get you to click something before you think about it, right? Your account is overdrawn, your package is not deliverable, something like that, some sort of a sense of urgency. So those are both red flags, okay? Spelling and grammar mistakes. Now these are getting better. Back in the early days of phishing emails, it was bad because a lot of phishing emails came from across seas, right? This is getting better, but it's still a red flag. This one says you're required to update your account information. Again, not necessarily a tell, but definitely a red flag. Generic greeting or salutation means it's either spam, like just junk email, or a bad email. Suspicious links or links that don't match the destination. You can see this. It says it goes to securitybank.net and it goes to malware.com. So again, it doesn't have to match what the wording says. And then this one has an attachment. Anytime there's an attachment, you need to take your hands off the mouse and think it through. Do I really need to open this attachment? Okay. Any questions on that? And again, you can see, I mean, these can look pretty legitimate, right?
What's the attachment thing?
The attachment is down here. A lot of times attachments will show up like an icon. This one is actually a .exe, so it's an executable program. If you clicked it, this one pretends to be a PDF, but it would actually try to run a program on your computer.
Okay, so watch out for them too, huh?
Yeah. Okay, so here's the simplified. If you get nothing else out of this, kind of look through this. So when we talk about what are your risks of being on the internet, whether you're talking a website or an email, your top threats really are ransomware or crypto lockers. Does anybody know what ransomware or crypto locker is?
Yeah, they lock your computer out and then you have to pay somebody to release it and so you can have access to your computer again?
Perfect. Yep, exactly. So they can either try to hold your computer ransom or they just lock it, right? And they encrypt the whole thing, you can't get access to it. And a lot of times these ransomware payments are very, very expensive, especially when they attack a business, okay? So think about if any of you have heard, and I don't want to call anybody out, but there's been businesses around townships that have been locked out of their computers, right? A lot of times it's because one person clicked one link in an email and it infected their entire network, took every computer down and locked them out of them. They can't get access to any of their files, their programs, documents, customer information, nothing unless they pay that ransom. Now, that ransom, who would feel good about paying a ransom to somebody that just infected their computer?
Yeah.
Number one, you're funding them, right? But number two, do you really trust that they're going to give you your data back and that they're not going to hold something of value that they already had access to? So that's top threat. Account takeover is also a very common threat. So like I said, with social media, hey, don't accept any, don't click anything from my Facebook account, I've been hacked. They can try to take over your online accounts, they can try to take over your email, so they can send email out as you and watch responses and come back and forth. And then computer takeover. Computer or a phone, right? So they can try and take that over so they can monitor everything that's on it. They can look through any documents you have. You might have confidential information stored in. If they take over your computer, everything you have access to in your computer, they have. Okay? So those are the threats. How do these happen? Number one, click the link in an email. It's as simple as that. Maybe you visited a bad website or a website that was infected. So even a legitimate website can be infected. And a bad guy might take over a legitimate website and put a link out there, and if you visit that page and click the link, you might get your computer infected or have any one of these things happen. Or password was compromised. So if you use very simple passwords or don't have multi-factor authentication, something like 80% of security breaches have happened because of weak or stolen passwords. So passwords are very, very important. How to prevent these things from happening. So slow down, use common sense. At the bank, we do test phishing emails. So we send out emails to our employees and see if they're going to fall for what we call phishing tests, something that kind of emulates something they would see from a hacker. And We have a very good rating as far as number of employees that have ever clicked on a phishing link, but on a test one. Usually if somebody does fall for one, I didn't slow down, I didn't think it through, I know better, I was just in a hurry, I had this going on, or it was a common theme, right? A shipment was delayed or something like that. But usually if you use common sense and slow down, that helps a lot. Trust no one. Even if I get an email from Kim, do I really know it's Kim? If she's asking me to do something that's out of the ordinary, I need to take my hands off the mouse and think it through, or maybe I go talk to her, right? A little bit harder to do when it's somebody that's outside your building, but you can certainly do it, right? Usually if it's somebody that's emailing you, you have their contact information, you can call them, right? And like I said, do not click links. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over. Find another way to get the information you're looking for. And then good password habits, and use multi-factor authentication. Now, does everybody know what multi-factor authentication is? Okay. So when you log into a website, it's usually what? A username and a password, right? What multi-factor authentication does, it says, okay, Chad's trying to log into this website. Here's his username. Here's his password. The multi-factor would be like the security questions you can ask. So your first pet's name, your first car, some of those sort of security questions. Now they've gotten even better with providing protection from multi-factor, where if you have a cell phone, they can text your phone and say, are you trying to log into this website? Click here to approve or click here to deny. So if somebody was trying to log in from somewhere else that was not me and they somehow guessed my password, I would still get a prompt on my phone that says, are you trying to log into this? So it's a very good fail-safe. It's what a lot of the insurance companies want when you have business-related cyber insurance. So it's multi-factor. It's just another way to verify something besides a password before they allow you to get access to something. Make sense?
On Google, you can save passwords. Do you think that's a good idea?
I don't think it's a good idea, no. So on a lot of browsers, right, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, you can turn on, like as soon as you put in a password, it says, do you want to remember this password? Think about if somebody ever gets access to your computer, they steal it, they take over your computer, they have access to all those passwords now, right? Because your computer is remembering it for you. It's a nice feature, but it's definitely a security risk, especially if you don't harden your computer the correct way. Now there are some third-party sources out there that are called password vaults. Those can kind of monitor all of your passwords or put them in for you based on one master password, right? So if I log into that service, kind of similar to what Chrome would do or Google Chrome, but it's a little more secure, right? So I have one secure password that I log in with, and it has multi-factor authentication, and then it can manage those passwords for me. Those are recommended by a lot of people in the industry. I don't have a list of ones that are good or not. Definitely do not just go out and Google password vault and install one. You need to talk to somebody that's a security professional or a computer person that can recommend a good one, somebody you trust. Okay, good question. Some other best practices. So these are kind of always been in place, but some of them are a little bit updated in recent years. So you always want to use trusted security software. So next generation antivirus and firewall, and update it regularly. For the most part, if you use Norton, McAfee, CrowdStrike, any of these trusted antivirus companies, they're going to update in real time anyway. You used to have to update them manually. That's not the case, but certainly check on it. Usually they'll be running down by your clock, and you can see your antivirus program and see if it's updating, see if it's got alerts. Firewall as well. Update all your PCs with Windows updates. Update the Windows firewall. A lot of that stuff happens automatically, but sometimes it'll prompt you and say, do you want to install updates? Definitely do that. Think about any smart devices you have in your house. Okay, so number one, phones, right? A lot of people have phones. You need to keep those updated. Do you have a TV that's on the internet? Do you have a refrigerator that's on the internet? You've all heard the stories about the baby monitors, right? Where somebody hacked a baby monitor because it was either didn't have a correct password, a hardened password, or it was missing some sort of security patch. Anything that's connected to the internet nowadays is pretty much a computer. And they all have updates that fix vulnerabilities so that people can't hack into them. So when you go home, think about anything that's on your home network, because if they can infect one, they can a lot of times jump to the other ones. So they might only infect your smart TV, but now maybe they can jump to your computer and control that. Okay. Do not open or trust emails from unknown senders. Do not assume the email sender name is truly who sent the email. We talked about that a little bit, right, with spoofing. Remember that email can be taken over. So if Kim's computer gets infected, I'm picking on Kim, if her computer gets infected, what if they have access to her email? Could they email you and ask you for some sort of information and actually get a conversation going, right? So if something doesn't pass what they call the smell test, if an email just seems weird or out of sort, stop what you're doing, think it through, maybe verify it, maybe call her, talk to her, make sure that what she's asking for is really her. And in a lot of cases, we've had employees as well as people I know personally that have called somebody, they've gone through the extra work to make sure that they were really emailing and asking for that, and like, no, I didn't email you. And a lot of times after the fact, they find out that they were hacked. Always be cautious about opening links and attachments. Delete emails that ask for confidential information. I've got that one here, and I've got it here. It's very important. Even if it's a legitimate source, if the bank would ever email you, and we don't do this, but if we would email you and ask you for your social security number, don't send it to us over email. Email's not secure, okay? Unless they use a secure email package, that's something a little bit different, but you don't want to email anything confidential without using a secure email program, and you would know if you're using one, okay? Do not allow remote control of your computer unless you initiate the request. Have you ever heard of somebody that got a phone call and said, hey, your computer's infected, but I'm here to help you? And it's totally stranger, right? Or they could say they're from, Best Buy or somebody that they think you're going to trust. And they'll actually provide you a way to remote control in your computer. Okay? We've had that happen to people at the bank. We've had it happen to customers. And what happens is they install software on your computer so they can take it over. Okay, so if you ever get a phone call from somebody that says they're going to help you with your computer, hang up on them. Okay. Do not rely on caller ID. We talked about that. If you're concerned about an account, if you get some sort of an alert or something that says your account's overdrawn, you need to verify information on your account. If it's from our bank, if it's from another bank, it's from a credit card company, whatever, call the number on your statement. Don't rely on that email. Don't click a link, don't call a phone number, don't respond to them. Go through the normal way that you would if you thought maybe your account was overdrawn or you needed to verify information. Okay?
What do you do if you have family members that, like I like to have some of my bills in the mail?
Yep.
And then I could send them the money for the bill.
Okay.
Well, everybody's trying to get me to do everything on computer, and I don't like to do that.
If you don't want to, you just certainly don't have to.
Boy, it's hard to convince them.
Right.
When it's family.
But
Yeah.
you're in charge.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to do that safely, and sit down with whoever is trying to set the bill up so that you fully understand what to expect and what to watch for.
Yeah.
If it's something through our bank, our customer service people are really good explaining all that stuff and keeping you safe, and we see a lot of it every day, so we can tell you what to watch for. So if you're ever curious about some of that stuff, want to sit down, come on in and talk to somebody upstairs. Okay. And then prepare for ransomware. Like she said, if you get a ransomware infection or a crypto locker and it locks you out of your computer, what are you losing? So do you have pictures on your computer that you would just be distraught about losing? Do you have documents on there that you couldn't replace? If you do, the answer is yes to that. You need to have backups of those. Okay, so a lot of times a backup would be a removable drive that you plug into your computer, you back all that stuff up to it, you disconnect it. That way, if it's completely disconnected and your computer gets infected, this is still safe, okay?
You know, TV, they always show it where skull and crossbones shows up on your phone, and it's like, what actually happens? What if you were ransomware hacked?
Yeah.
What happens to your computer? What does it look like?
Good question. So a lot of different things can happen. It used to be, like you said, the skull and crossbones would show up.
Yeah.
You've been hacked by, and the person will put out a cutesy name, right? And they'll say, I don't know, the ultimate hacker or something, right? They used to do that. Sometimes they would do nothing. So they would have your computer, full control of your computer, and they want to hide that, right? So they don't want just the information on there that you have right now. They want to stay on your computer for years and years and years, and every new credit card you get, how did that credit card get hacked? Well, they've been watching your computer for years. A big one that they're doing now is when I talk about backups, right? And this gets into a whole nother conversation, but think about if your computer was hacked 6 months ago, okay, and you had a backup 6 months ago, right? And you have a backup every month. Now your computer gets hacked today. Which backup are you going to go to? If you've been updating these documents, if they took over your computer 6 months ago, now they have control over all your backups. If you restored a backup, they're going to do it again. So they can do a lot of different things. They've kind of gotten, there's a few of them that are still doing the ransomware infection, like the big screen and it pops up and it blinks at you and scares you and makes you call this number and or somehow provide payment to them. But a lot of them are just hiding. And then at some point, once they've gathered all the information they want, then they'll turn it on and lock your screen, or it'll just black out. So it all depends on which hacking group is taking over your computer. All right, spear phishing. How many of you think you could send an email to somebody and get them to click a link? Okay. We have a small group here.
My dog.
Yeah, so we have a small group here, but if I ask this in a larger group, you know, could you find something out about somebody in this room that would be information that would be relative to them, that would make sense to them, to get them fooled into clicking a link within an email? So I'll tell you right now that if I Google anybody in this room, I can probably find out some of your relatives' names, your date of birth, your address, okay, any of that stuff I can use to spear phish you, right? So regular phishing is just sending out something to a whole group of people, and it's not really specific to any of those people, right? But now, I could find out who Julie's cousin is, right? And I could fake an email address, and I could find out what Julie's birth date is, probably just by Googling it or going on Facebook or something like that, right? So I could put together this email from Julie's cousin's name to Julie, which her email address is easily found on the internet as well. I could find out what day her birthday is and kick this off on her birthday, right? And I could put a friendly message, happy birthday, Julie, here's a card for you, or check this picture out or whatever, and put a link in there. Would that be real hard to do? So think about, if we could do that in this room, think about with some of the tools that hackers have, right? They can get pretty targeted with their attacks. Another one would be, I could probably find out if you guys bank in here, with our bank, right? And I could send an email to your email address from, I could put in First National Bank, even if I'm not affiliated with First National Bank. Put in a subject that kind of gets your attention, fraud on your account, and here's a link. Oh, and by the way, if you're smart enough to not click links, I want to provide a phone number here. If you don't compare that phone number to the phone number that actually gets to the bank, you could be calling me anywhere in the world. And then I could ask you for some sort of information, right? So spear phishing is very easy to do for the layperson, and for a hacker it's even easier. So you got to watch for these things that seem to be very legitimate, very specific. I'm assuming that almost everybody in here has gotten a package from FedEx, UPS, United States Postal Service, right? So a very easy one to spear phish is just to say your package cannot be delivered. Click here to update your information.
You gotta
Right.
think, did I order something, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you didn't, even if you did order something, contact whoever you ordered it through and see if there's a problem with the shipment, right? And it's funny how many of these things happen on a day when you were actually expecting something to be delivered. But they know that, right? Because a lot of us get a delivery every week. So they just start sending these things out in mass.
You know, a good idea would be to write down the date and stuff when you did FedEx something or something.
Yep, and you could
when it
use
comes
that.
back to you, can't remember what it was.
Yeah, and you could use that email as a notification to think, well, maybe there's something wrong with that shipment. Maybe I should check on it. But again, don't use the information in that email to check on it.
Yeah.
Go through your order information or contact whoever you ordered it from. Okay? Yeah.
Chad, how does Google get your email address? I mean,
If
How
it's
do
ever
we
been
find
posted
it?
on a website,
Yeah.
if it's ever been posted on social media, Google yourself sometime. See how much information is out there about
You
yourself.
can Google you and they
yeah, I know I won't give out my email address just because of my complication with my site. I just don't do it.
Yeah, but it's
if
probably
you
out there.
did, yeah, okay.
Yeah, just from other sources. You know, Equifax was breached a long time ago, right? They have all of our
Oh,
information.
that's true.
So all that stuff goes out to what's called the dark web, and some of it filters back onto the regular web.
The company that had information.
How many of you
And it comes exactly right there. Yeah.
have seen something like this, where on some sort of social media, they post like a survey or a kind of get to know your friends type of thing. What high school did you attend in 9th grade? I don't even want to ask if any of you replied to it, if you've seen this, right? So this is just one example. 67,000 people posted what high school they went to in 9th grade. Kind of fun, right? I mean, you could figure out what high school people went to. Maybe they went to the same high school as you. Maybe you can connect with them. Some other ones might be, what was your first car? Oh, I had a Camaro too, right? Does anybody know a problem with this?
Yes.
With posting this on the internet?
Yeah, it's all your passwords for your bank and, security questions.
Security questions,
Yes, all that
exactly.
information is right there.
Right, you just posted it on the World Wide Web. One of the answers to your multi-factor authentication questions, right? So again, it's kind of fun, but if you think about it, is it worth it?
Dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, okay. This was posted by a police department. It says, we usually don't play these, but why not? So where did you grow up? Favorite color, first pet's name, street you grew up on, favorite child's name, favorite sports team, favorite food, first car, mom's name before she married.
Yes.
Maiden name, right? So they posted this, and then on the right side they capitalize everything. Stop giving people your personal information to guess your password and security questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people do this, and you're putting your information out there.
Is that on here?
Yes. This
No,
one isn't?
Can I take a picture of that?
This was an original. Okay.
Can you hold, I'm gonna take a picture of that if you
Sure.
don't mind.
Yep. Sorry, we try to keep these fresh and
Yeah,
and
that's a good one.
yeah. All right. Password recommendation. So, like I talked about, a lot of breaches happen because of lost or stolen passwords. So, here's just some recommendations. Number one, use hard to guess passwords. Passphrases are recommended. So, a lot of software and websites will actually allow you to type in a full sentence, right? That's harder to guess than any individual password you're going to use, okay? But still mix it up with uppercase, lowercase, special characters. All that stuff makes them harder to guess. Change any default passwords. We talked about TVs, refrigerators. A lot of times they'll come with a manual that says what the default password is. So you can actually pull up a computer at your home and log into your smart TV. And it'll tell you what the username and password is right in that book. Well, there's a million people that have that same book, right? So if they can try and scan the internet and connect to your TV, they already have the password. So change those default passwords. Do not use the same passwords across different systems. This is a big one. So if somebody gains access to my social media, right, they guess my password. If I use my same password for my online banking, for my credit card, for anything else, that's going to be a problem, because now they not only just gain access to something that I didn't worry that much about my password with, but I'm using the same password for a lot of accounts. So I know it's painstaking, but you really need to try and use different passwords for everything. That way at least if you get something hacked, you don't have to worry about everything, right?
How do you keep track of all your passwords?
It's a good question. So you got to secure it somehow, right? So if you write them down, you need to keep that in a secure location, put it in a safe, something like that. Some of these password vaults are a good option because they really secure that individual password that manages all the rest of your passwords. And that way you can have them all in one location.
Yeah, I did a little directory book.
Yep.
Put in there because it was alphabetized and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So just make sure, I mean, that's your...
Yeah, you can't get away from it. You don't let anybody else see it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have a multitude of passwords now that we have to remember.
Yeah.
So if you do write them down, just make sure you secure it, right? And a lot of them have forgot password features, right? So if you do not write your passwords down, you forget what they are, a lot of times you can retrieve that password somehow. Change passwords periodically. Again, it's painstaking, right? But if somebody has access to your account, how long do you want them to have access to your account for? So if you change it, when you change it, hopefully they lose access. And there's other reasons to change your password periodically as well. Enable MFA wherever it's available, so multi-factor authentication. If you have the option to turn that on, do so. Your MFA questions should not be easy to guess. So again, those security questions, you shouldn't post them on the internet. They shouldn't be very simple. What's your dog's name? You know, you need to kind of select the questions that you can choose something that's not easily guessable. Lock your computer when you step away. Again, if you do use some sort of password management tool and you walk away from your computer and somebody walks up to it, they have access to some of your passwords, right? And consider a password vault. Do not write passwords down and leave them in an unsecured location. If you do write them down, make sure you've got that locked away somewhere.
When you refer to a password vault service,
Mm-hmm.
that's something you would go to online to
Yeah.
get.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I say, don't just Google password vault service because you're going to get some that are malicious.
So how
right?
do you?
You got to talk to somebody in the industry and make sure that they're reputable, somebody you trust. So if you've got a computer repair service, Best Buy, some of those places, talk to somebody there
Okay.
and find out what's reputable. All right, a couple quick videos so you guys don't have to listen to me talk.
Oh, you're not so bad.
How safe is your password and how long will it take a computer to crack it and get all of your information? What I want you to do is check out this graphic from Statista. It shows the number of characters in the password, that's 1 through 12, and then the added options. Those are up here. That's like lowercase only, at least one uppercase letter, and a number, and something also with a symbol. Now, I would say chances are that most passwords that we use are about 6 characters. And with all those things, oh yeah, it's instant. The cracking is instant. Why is that? Well, cybersecurity expert Joseph Steinberg says we, as humans, we're just predictable.
It's a lot easier to crack passwords than most people realize. Humans have a tendency to create passwords in certain formats. So it's very common, for example, if a password requires a capital letter, lowercase, a number, and a special character, that humans who speak English will put the capital letter at the beginning, then the lowercase letters, then the number, then the special character.
Yep, that's how we do it. So how do we get to more of this 5-year mark or this 400-year mark, right, to crack the password? Well, part of the key is length. You're looking at 10 characters or more to get into that part. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. Some quick fixes for that. You may think of me using a phrase that comes to mind, like to be or not to be 10, or my dog has fleas 31 with the exclamation point. Okay, so each one of these meet the requirements, right? They're long, they've got 15 or 16 characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, a symbol. But Steinberg says these would be cracked quickly too. Why? Because these programs are trained to look for common phrases that we would use, like to be or not to be, or my dog has fleas. So then, what's the answer for us?
I like taking 3 unrelated words, names, or places, something that it would not be found in an English dictionary, and combine those 3 words. If you really want to be careful about it, put a digit in between them.
Okay, so remember a place, a name. This is my example. Throw in a number or a symbol in the middle, and the word that I use is Spanish, not found in the English dictionary. We've got all this in the Who Wants to Know section.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, but it's scary.
Yeah, right? All right.
How safe is your...
Okay. I did talk about remote, do not allow people access to your computer remotely unless you initiate the request. Some of these things can kind of pop up. We've seen these through quite a few different sources. It'll tell you your computer's infected, your system has detected some unusual activity. You can, look at this, they even provide a link where you can chat right now with somebody that'll fix that. Isn't that nice of them? There's even a phone number. And then they're asking you for your password, so you should probably type that in, right? Or not? Probably not, right? So what's going to happen is if you type in any password here, username and password, they're going to take that and put it in a database that they use to try and use that on a lot of common sites, okay? So you don't want to type in your password on any site that you don't recognize. And then allow remote control. So this is great because you put in some information, click connect, and some person that you've never met and has no reason to be on your computer is going to connect to your computer. Is that a problem? And some of these will be, like, they'll flash and they'll have sound and they might even follow up with a phone call. So if this
It ain't
happens...
good to do the phone call either.
What's that?
It's not good to do the phone call either.
No, you don't want to do any of that. If this happens, turn your computer off. Just power it off or unplug it or whatever. Don't click anything on the screen. Don't call any phone numbers. When you turn your computer back on, just give it a few minutes. Wait and see if this pops back up. If it does, your computer's infected, right? So it's going to happen every time. You need to have somebody remove the infection. If it doesn't pop up, it was probably just the website that you were on was trying to pop this information up and try to get you to click on something. So don't go back to that website, okay? Here's another little scare for you.
I asked Dan Tentler, a well-known security researcher, to turn all of his firepower on me.
I did get into quite a number of things that I found.
So what were the first things you did? How did you start hacking me?
I quickly found your Squarespace blog and had an idea. Basically what I did was created a bogus Squarespace site and sent an email to you, a fish asking you to go to this website, run this certificate install.
And I did it, because I'm an idiot.
So once you ran that, it gave me access to your computer, and I created several fake pop-ups that looked like system pop-ups that would ask you for your credentials.
You didn't even have to have my passwords.
No, you gave them to me.
I gave them to you.
Yeah. So I stole your 1Password keychain.
And 1Password is where I store all my other passwords. So effectively
And
by...
your social security number and your Amex stuff and all your stock trading and bank information. I can send email to everyone in this room as you. I am you right now, if I wanted to be. If my evilness is working correctly, it should actually be taking pictures of your desktop and pictures through your webcam every 2 minutes. And I have been watching you for about 2 days now. In coffee shops, at your mom's house, on a plane. Here's your editing stuff. There's you.
Oh my god, so this is literally
every 2 minutes.
through my webcam.
Yeah, through this guy.
How badly could you have messed up my life?
I could have made you homeless. I could have made you homeless and penniless.
How would you make me homeless?
Like I have control of your digital life in its entirety. I have all your credentials. I have all your access to all your financial information, all your work information, all your personal information. I can pay people with your bank account or your Amex account. I am you. I can fully impersonate. The only thing I couldn't doctor would be like your fingerprints.
This is like as bad as it gets.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's bad.
Now, I told you I was going to scare you a little bit, right? So this can happen, right? I mean, we've all heard of people that have had this happen. But I don't want you to be so scared that you don't use your computer, right? Remember the tips that I gave you? Slow down, think it through, right? Do you really have to click on this email? Do you have to follow through with whatever you're trying to do? Or is there another way around it, right? And manage your passwords and update your devices. Do you have any questions? All right, thanks for your time. I'm gonna pass it back over to Kim.
Alrighty, so doing security here at the bank, I am the person that gets to have conversation with a lot of our customers, kind of investigate what's going on, and I can tell you the text spam and the email hacking is the #1 thing we're seeing right now. A lot of calls come in because people are nervous. They got this email, what to do? You know, Chad gave you every tool and resource, what to do, what not to do. But if you do click something, call the bank or your credit card, whatever password you have saved on that computer, you want to act right away. We have things we can do to, you know, change your password on your online banking if you have that. You know, we can close out your account if they've got your debit card or account number. There's certain things we can do because, again, our goal is to protect you because once that money's gone, it's gone. And so, according to the FBI, some statistics here for you. The phishing, vishing, smishing, so basically everything Chad just talked about. They reported crimes happened 324,000 times in 2021, which is an increase of 34% from 2020. So every year that's just going to rise, and it's going to continue to rise. Fraud and scams have not slowed down, they've actually just increased. Chad and I like to say we have job security because it's just constant. Every day there's something or questions out there on this. Tech support fraud scams pulled in nearly $350 billion. That's more like you're getting the antivirus warnings pop up, the Microsoft warnings pop up, and people click them because they think they need to do that. That's up from just under $150 billion in 2020. That's over 130% increase in 1 year. Okay, so I'm not smart enough to educate you and teach you how to create those scams, but we're smart enough to teach you how to prevent them. And that's our goal. So let's move on to some other types of scams that we see and deal with here. Yeah.
Like at the banks and stuff that you are at, do they have kind of suspicion too, and they'll call you?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so if we see something that we're nervous about or something doesn't feel right, you will get a call from somebody asking you what's going on. And you know, I did hear Chad say, you know, don't always trust the phone number. I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman that I know very well. He was a joint owner on one of our accounts here. It was regarding his mother's account. And I called him and I said, I'm just going to say his name's John. Hi, John. This is Kim with First National Bank. Just do you have a minute? I want to talk to you about your mom's account. You're a joint owner. Explain the situation. The first thing John said to me was, how do I know it's Kim?
Yeah.
And I said, good for you. Call the bank. You know the main line. I gave him the main line, but he also could have gone to the website, whatever, and asked for me, and they will get you to me. And he kind of laughed and said, oh, I know you. I know your voice. I know it's you. But that was the first time someone actually questioned me when I called. That's smart. I prefer you to do that than just believe somebody.
You should almost say, I'll call you back. So you got the right person then, you know you do.
Correct. Calling back is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing. So, you know, we can only educate, we can't stop. And the sad thing is, you know, when we see the people, they're so embarrassed and they're sad and they're hurt and they're angry and every emotion you can imagine. Everybody at some point is going to have scammed. Everyone here has probably had phone calls, had emails, had texts. It all happens. And you know what? I just got out of the grocery store taking my kids to sports and oh gosh, why did I do that? You don't do it on intent. You know, it's just we're acting on urgency and rushing, and that's how we live. And for some people, it's because they don't know better. So hopefully our education today can definitely, you know, prevent some of that. So other scams we see right now are law enforcement or IRS scams. Essentially, they'll call and say, hey, we have a warrant out for your arrest, or something like you owe us back taxes. Basically what the fraudsters want to do is create fear and urgency. They'll probably spoof their phone number so it looks like it's coming in from the IRS or it's coming in from a police department. But typically they're going to try to negotiate for less. Here's something you need to know. Law enforcement will never ask you to pay anything by using a gift card, a prepaid debit card, or transfer money by a wire. Never. They're never going to threaten to immediately arrest you or deploy you. If they want you, they're going to come to your home and find you. It's not going to be a phone call, a text, an email. They're going to come see you personally. They're never going to initiate contact with you through email or through social media. and they're never going to request any sensitive information. On the other hand, IRS always sends a letter, a written notification through the U.S. mail. They will never ask for payment or credit card information over the phone if you're talking to them or someone you think is them. And they're never going to request any of your personal or financial information via email. Everything the IRS typically does is initial letter comes in the mail. It might have phone numbers right on that to call. If you're nervous about that, go out to the IRS. Go to the state of Wisconsin, the state of Minnesota, wherever you need to call. Their numbers are very clearly posted because they want their money. You can call them and have a conversation with somebody. They're never going to do it through the email. Grandparent scams. This is something we have definitely seen here at the bank. What happens is somebody calls and says, I'm in jail or I've been in an accident and I need help. And they typically want to say they're your grandchild. So whether granddaughter, grandson, doesn't matter. Typically these situations occur during spring break or summer because people are traveling, moving around, they're active. And again, these people on the phone, what they're doing is they're playing on your fear and urgency. They're worried, you're worried about your grandson, granddaughter, any other family members, and you want to help them. And so they're trying to create such a bad situation that you know you need to just go take care of it. So here's an example. Hello, Grandpa, I'm in trouble. Please don't tell Mom. And the scammer then said, the scammers, they know the grandchild's name. They'll usually cry to distinguish their voices, or I had a situation with one of our customers where they said they were in a car accident and had a broken nose, so they sounded funny. They'll plead for the victim to wire money. What they want you to wire money, because wiring money, that money's gone. It's instant gone, and it's fast. And then they're also going to tell this grandchild or grandson, they're going to pretend, to grandparents, don't tell my mom and dad what's going on until I'm out of jail or I'm out of trouble. I had a gentleman earlier this year that came in and needed $18,000 in cash. His grandson was in a car accident, also got a DWI, broke his nose. The public defender's office was calling him. I'm smart enough to know that public defender's office are public agencies, so I said, well, that's great, let's call the public defender's office. So I called the public defender's office and asked what county and state they were working out of, because he didn't know where his grandson was. And the person on the phone said, why do you need that? I need a case number. Well, I knew instantly it was a scam. But I'm trying to educate you as I'm doing this, because he was very afraid that his grandson was in trouble. Fortunately, the guy hung up on me. I did give him a case number. We kept talking. He couldn't find the case number in the system. Of course, I'm on the phone telling my customer right in front of me, this is a scam. And right after I said that, the guy hung up and the conversation was done. The person on the phone was smart enough to say, don't call my mom and dad. And I asked, did you call your daughter or son? Well, they're in Texas. I mean, just like he said, sometimes they just happen to know you're getting a package in the mail. Coincidentally, this gentleman's, the grandson's parents were on vacation somewhere. So did the parents post pictures on social media to say they're traveling all over? A lot of times we're getting ourselves in trouble, right? So, big thing, if you ever get that call, don't act on it. And I'm sorry if something really is bad going on, but call your child or another family member and say, I got this call, have you heard from Johnny? Do you know if someone's okay? Don't believe these situations to be true. There's a thing out there called secret shopper scams. What happens with these is checks are usually sent through the mail. Who knows why you get them or why anybody else gets them, but basically they give you a check and they give you an assignment and they tell you how to handle the money and what to do with it. They want you to deposit the funds for 24 hours before taking it out, because typically banks have a 24-hour, next day availability on checks. So in this situation or other situations we've seen it here at the bank. We had 3 businesses probably 2 years ago. All 3 had the same scam involved and had nothing to do with the bank and had nothing to do with our customers. Just coincidentally, these 3 places got hit. All 3 businesses are local and all 3 businesses have nothing to do with each other, okay? One might be in a transportation field, one's in the service industry, and one's in home repair. So none of them have anything together. So letters went out to a bunch of people all over the country, not in River Falls, Prescott area. They sent them all over the country, and basically the letter said, here's this check, here's X dollar amount. What we want you to do is advertise on your car the logo of the business. And we will pay you, say $500, but then once you're done, can you send us the rest of the money back via wire? So someone thinks they're getting $500 free. Or can you go to the store, go to Holiday, go to Quick Trip and buy gift cards, call us and give us the phone numbers or the numbers off the back, for the gift card. No one gets free money. None of these three businesses would ever advertise on a car that's not local because they were all local businesses. Once we started getting the calls, we knew obviously this was going on, but this happens a lot. People get this. We see older adults and a lot of college age adults that do this, especially college, because they need money, right? They're desperate to go shopping, to go out to do something. There's a lot of other ones that are nanny scams that you get letters on. Anytime you get something in the mail that you were not expecting, disregard it, throw it away. If you want to bring it to the bank and have a conversation with somebody to say, is this legit? What is this? Or just show it, because it is kind of fun to have that conversation, please do. Anyone here is happy to have that conversation with you, but you're not getting free money, okay?
So what happens?
So what happens? Good point. So if we go back to the secret shopper scam, what happens? So you get a check in the mail, say for $2,000. They tell you to keep $500. 24 hours later, go to this gas station, buy 3 $500 gift cards. You're going to scratch off the back the code, and you're going to give that out over the phone. Okay? You think you've done nothing wrong because you did what they told you to do. Well, we as the bank have to clear this check. So we have to send this check to the bank routing number. So whatever bank's involved, which the banks are never involved, they have no idea this is going on either. And that's probably a legit business. That's probably a legitimate account. But that account's been closed. The account's been reported as fraud or fictitious. And so what happens is then 2 or 3 days later, we as a bank would get that check back as fraudulent. So I would call and I would say, Julie, your account right now, we just had to pull out $2,500. How can you make up that money? If you have $100,000, you're still out that $2,000. If you only have $2,000 in your account, you're at zero. So it's ultimately on the person. You are responsible for depositing your own checks. We at the bank are very good at picking up red flags, having conversations. If checks aren't local, if you don't typically get this deposit, something seems weird. We do a lot of little back end things to make sure we feel comfortable. Is there something written down here in the memo line? I write, congratulations, happy anniversary, happy birthday, no big deal. One time we had a check come in that said funds are available. Who's gonna write funds are available? That's the biggest red flag that says that check's pure scam. So we're trained on our side as well, but that's what really happens is ultimately the customer is out the money. Okay, you might still have your $500, but you're out the $1,500 other dollars that you just gave out in gift cards. Yeah, because you chose to do that and give it out. So it's hard. Online purchases and scams.
So is it better to write a check then and just send a birthday present with a check instead of a gift card?
No, that's not what I'd be saying at all. If you want to give somebody a gift card, please do. If you want to write a check, please do. What scammers will do is ask you to, scammers are finding other ways around from going to any financial institutions because we are educated that much on this because it's happening all the time. So they're now, instead of having you come to your bank to wire money or to get a cashier check or something larger, they're going to tell you, just go to Holiday and buy a gift card. Go to Target, go to Walmart, and then, I don't know, did I say Holiday? Go to different stores. Go to 3 different ones. Buy $500 gift cards. They ask you it's for a birthday present, blah, blah, blah. It's really not for a birthday present. You're just funding the scammer.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying, is it okay still to buy gift cards?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep, gift cards are very safe. As long as you're the one giving them and not giving out the back numbers.
What about debit cards? They're safe too?
Debit cards? Like for your personal use? Because you would never give a debit card out as a gift.
Just for your personal.
Absolutely. Debit cards are safe as long as you're using it in the right way.
Yeah.
Okay? I have an 18-year-old daughter. I don't want her using her debit card shopping on all these boutiques and websites that I know nothing about. Okay? She wants to buy something from a reputable source that I know is legitimate. That's a different situation.
Good mama.
Yeah, well, wish she listened a little more.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So online purchases and scams, obviously you guys all know about Craigslist, Facebook, Marketplace, those things. Whether you do it or not, they can be absolutely legitimate things you're going to go buy. Just be very careful. Typically what happens with these is they want you to pay with cash or cashier checks. The dollar amounts are usually pretty small. They're not going to go out and get you a $20,000 boat typically off this. It's going to be smaller cash. Because those big amounts are going to cause red flags. Typically most people don't have $20,000 in cash sitting at home. So you're going to have to go to your bank and say, yep, I need $20,000. The bank's going to say, oh, what are you doing? I'm buying a boat from somebody. That's a red flag. Do you know it's legitimate? Do you feel comfortable with that? You know, those sorts of things. Typically, the online scams involve equipment. They're looking for you to purchase boats, motorcycles, you know, ATVs, equipment, tools, that sort of stuff. Romance scams. You think this doesn't happen? It does. I've been involved with a ton of them here at the bank. A lot of times the ultimate reason for the scam is they found somebody online and fell in love and thought they needed money to help. So here is what scammers may do. They will assume a false identity. They're going to take time to build that trust with you, and then they're going to ask you money under false pretenses. This scam typically happens in person or online, but it can happen in person. And they claim that they need money for an emergency surgery, a medical bill. I've also heard of the ones where, oh, my brother's in Germany trying to get back to the United States and I need to pay for that to get him home. They ask for help in paying unexpected any fees or gambling debts. They request money to travel. A lot of times it might be a smaller amount to begin with, but then once they know you're going to be willing to give you that money or give them the money, they're going to ask for more and higher amounts. Sometimes they'll ask for that gift cards or the wiring of the money because they're not traceable. If you go and buy a gift card right now at Quick Trip, call somebody, give them the numbers, there's no way to find out who that person was. Okay? So it's a super easy way of the scammers to get your money. One thing I did not say with romance scams, COVID obviously kept a lot of people at home, so a lot of people were on their computers, which also then created a lot of loneliness and boredom. It's not just younger people that are on these dating things or on sites. It is also older people, especially those who live alone, might be more vulnerable. They were out looking as well. So according to the FBI and the Federal Trade Commission, romance scams brought in at least $1 billion from 24,000 victims in 2021. The Federal Trade Commission reported $574 million. This is up drastically from 2020, where a total of $307 million was reported. So we went from 307 to $1.5 billion reported. But the sad thing is these numbers are drastically higher because most people are embarrassed and ashamed, so they're not going to report this. Okay? So we've seen it here at the bank where all of a sudden, think of COVID, unemployment. I don't know if you guys heard of unemployment scams. We're not seeing those right now, fortunately. But COVID, a lot of people collected unemployment. Okay? Well, Kim and John met online, and Kim now trusts John, and John says, oh, my bank, I screwed up. I can't get my right numbers to go into this website. Can you go to the state of Indiana and put this on? And I say, well, sure, I'll help you because I'm in love with you. I'm going to help you. All of a sudden, all these deposits from unemployment from Indiana start coming into my account. why in River Falls, Wisconsin or Prescott, Wisconsin would Indiana unemployment be coming in? We saw it quite a bit. And it wasn't just Indiana, it was all over the country. Unemployment scams are very big. So we'd have to call and have questions and discussion, and typically I'd bring them actually into my office. I work out of River Falls, so I'd bring them there, or I'd come down here and meet with them. And at the end of the day, it typically was this situation. They fell in love with somebody online, they thought they were real. You know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'd be like, you know, you can tell them the bank's onto this. You can tell them some of this needs to be reported to the FBI because the dollar amount, and I'm sorry, they will leave. They will never talk to you again, and that's what happens. So once, you know, they have conversations with the bank or, you know, somebody that knows them, typically they stop.
I think we should go back to the old days and forget about the computer.
That's not a bad thing. However, it's not the way in which we're going. And just think of, you know, 20 years from now, what the scams are going to be. It's literally every day there's something new that creeps out. So it's going to keep going. Lotteries and sweepstakes scams. This is something we see a lot. You guys are probably very familiar with Publishers Clearinghouse. We get calls on that a lot. They think they're winning Publishers Clearinghouse. Publishers Clearinghouse actually has an awesome website because I've gone to it to get their material to give to customers. They actually have a fraud section on their website. They will never call you and tell you you won, ever. They're going to show up to your house. They're not going to call you and notify you. Dress pretty today, the camera's coming. They show up. But scammers, so the non-official, you know, Publishers Clearinghouse people, they'll call, email, text telling you that you've won. They're going to request, though, a lot of times that you pay up front the fees and any taxes that are owed. You know, so if you are winning $1 million, you just don't take home $1 million. You have to pay taxes and fees on that, right? So they're trying to get you to give them the money up front. So once that clears on their end, then they're going to send you their $1 million. You're out any money you sent them. They will send you checks that look authentic. They look real. Okay? We've seen checks come in. I get this question a lot with checks. You know, a business is never going to send you a handwritten check that you won. A large national company. You might win the local Legion drawing and they have a check. But, you know, Publishers Clearinghouse checks are going to be, you know, typed, printed, official looking. We have people that say, well, it's a cashier's check, it's good. I can go right now to any store that prints checks and I can have them print on my checks, cashier checks. Cashier check does no validity to say that it's truly a good check. Okay? So don't believe if you ever get a cashier check in the mail, it's real. And then sometimes they may pose as an attorney for the winner, so they want to call you and say, here's the money, I work with this business, and I'm going to be the attorney that can help represent you. Oh my gosh, I just won. And then they want to try to collect a retainer fee. So, if you ever encounter any problems, couple things. Take immediate action if you detect a problem. So Chad talked a lot about stopping and just thinking, you know, hands up, don't click the mouse, don't touch. Same thing in any of these other situations. But the other thing is don't let embarrassment or fear stop you from reporting any exploitation or fraud, because timing is critical. If you click right now on a Microsoft pop-up on your computer, you have online banking, you have credit cards, you have that. Guess what? You also have an Excel or a Word doc that has all your passwords because that's how you wrote them down. That fraudster has everything on your computer. Okay? So timing is very, very important. Timing at a bank, because it's your personal money, is even more critical, because if they start sweeping out money, it's gone. I can't get it back for you. So it's very important that you put away the embarrassment and fear and go, oh my God, I did this, yes, but I need help. You'll be much greater that you did that right away than waiting a couple days. So a couple statistics for the FBI regarding scams targeting seniors. Virtually every kind of scam takes in more older adults than younger people, usually because they have more money per individual victim. So the older you are, typically the more money you have than your 20-year-old, correct? So in 2021, people in their 20s lost $431 million. Victims over the age of 60 lost $1.68 billion. So, seniors stay up to date on news and politics, but they're less likely to know the latest cybersecurity issues and malware trends. And the U.S. was the country most hurt by cybercrime in 2021. I can tell you I have an 18-year-old daughter, and what she can do on her phone and tell me is way more than I even understand. And I'm not that, I mean, obviously I'm much older than her, but I'm in my mid-40s. And the amount of stuff these kids learn, you know, they're learning today on Chromebooks, and they have phones at such a young age. They know all this stuff. So it's hard for us to stay up to date on all of it and what's going on every day. So fraud. Fraud is the intentional deception to secure unfair or unlawful gain. So where are we right now? Right now we see about 90% of fraud attacks occur online. Can't stress that enough. In 2021, in quarter one, so January, February, and March, they saw a 728% increase in telephone fraud. I told you it's not just older Americans. They're now starting to target the 30 to 39-year-old group. They're out of college, they have jobs, they're making good money, hopefully some of their debt's paid down and they're moving on. They're also a really big target right now. The United States accounts for 1/3 of all credit card fraud globally. 1/3. And card not present fraud is the leading form. So what that means is this. You look on your online banking statement and say, or you get your statement in the mail and you go, well, I never bought this. This isn't from me. Chances are it probably isn't, but it was your debit card number used. You used your debit card somewhere else. And somewhere else was hacked or got your information, okay? We don't see it happening locally. You know, it's not happening in your local little community where the fraud's taking place. It's typically coming from all over the U.S., but also the country, the world. Does that make sense when cards not present fraud? Okay. So the 5 top things we see. 42% of account takeover. Account takeover, what that means is someone has hacked into your computer and they have taken over your online banking account. Okay? That happens. The only way someone can take over your computer is if you clicked a link, you responded to an email, opened an attachment, all the things Chad was telling you. Your online banking is extremely secure as long as you do the right things without touching links, attachments, you know, calling numbers without verifying the numbers on websites, those sorts of things. 23% is account opening identity theft. What that would be is somebody going to a bank's website, credit card's website, anywhere, and putting in, say, use me, use Kim, but I never was a person that did it. They just know my information enough to pass for me, okay? 21% is impersonation scams, 15% is online purchasing scams, and then 7% is the phishing scams. So identity theft, want to talk about that because a lot of people have given up information when they get scammed. A lot of times their personal information is given up. So if you've ever given up your social security number, your date of birth, your card numbers, whether it's your debit, credit card numbers, any PINs and passwords, that can count towards identity theft. And how do you protect? Yep, go ahead.
Do you mind if I just back up a minute?
Yep, absolutely.
On the card not present fraud, my American Express is set up so that I get a card not present alert on my phone. Can I get that for a debit card that I have with the bank?
We do not have the card not present feature, but in our online banking, we have alerts. So you can sign up for alerts, and you can sign up for alerts anytime a transaction clears.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, and if you need help with that, one of our bankers or I can help you with that for sure.
Okay, thanks.
So identity theft safeguards. Always protect your personal information. Protect your incoming and outgoing mail. You know, years ago you heard about mail fraud or people stealing from mailboxes. It does still happen. It's not as popular way of doing stuff, but it has happened here locally recently, so it does happen. Sign up for direct deposit if you can. If you still have, you know, a job, sign up for direct deposit. Use a shredder to destroy any financial trash. Every year in April, we have our annual shred day. Bring your stuff. We're more than happy to get that out, you know, take care of it and shred it for you. Monitor your bank accounts and your credit cards. It's your responsibility. You know, the banks are doing everything they can to protect you. We have safeguards in place. We have people involved. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately your responsibility to know what your account balances are. What's cleared in your account? Did this check clear? Oh, I didn't go to Target today. Who did? I always have to ask that because my kid might take mine and, you know, is it fraud or is it my child, right? But monitor your stuff. Know your balances. Open your statements. When you get the email, if you have online, check it. A better way to actually truly check your accounts, in my opinion, is to have a smartphone and have our app right on your phone. You can check it every day. It's super simple. I know people are afraid of technology and afraid of that. I can tell you our online banking and our apps are secure and they're safe. And it's instant access. You know right away what's going on. If your card declines, why? You can look at that and go, oh, I only had $2. Sorry. I thought I transferred money or I thought this deposit was going to hit. Because otherwise it makes you anxious, right? So we all want instant gratification. So if you have your the app on your phone, you can see it right away. Or by the time you get home, log in and you can see what's going on. Avoid any commons for personal information. If people are asking you for, you know, your social, your date of birth, why do they need it? Okay? As a bank, we obviously need it for CIP procedures to open accounts. But after that, I don't need your social security number. I have other ways I can identify you. Sometimes I do on the phone ask for the last 4 digits of a social security number, but that shouldn't be the only way someone identifies you ever, okay? Because social security numbers...
Is it okay to give out the last 4?
I'm sorry?
Is it okay to give out the last 4?
I do. I have. But I also am giving it out to people I know and I trust. So, when's the last? Oh, the bank. When you plug in, like on, you know, setting your PIN, you have to put your last 4 of your social in. You don't have a choice. You have to do that. Any credit cards you're activating, you have to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, but if my handyman's coming over and wants to verify me that way, what does he need my social security for? He doesn't need that. So, think about what people need to know of you and give them that information, and that's only. And then review your credit report annually and report any fraudulent activity. So everyone is entitled to 1 free credit report a year, okay? If you are a victim of identity theft, always place an initial alert with one of the major credit bureaus. So there's 3 credit bureaus that we have. And if you place one with one of the agencies, so if you place it with Experian, they have to report it down to the other ones, okay? So it's not as much work as calling all 3, but you do have to call one. You also can go online and do that as well. Request copies of your credit report. Make any identity theft reports. Consider placing a freeze on your credit. You know, my mom is 76 years old. She owns her home. She has a newer car. She has 1 credit card and a bank card, and that's it. She froze her credit because she doesn't need anything else. She's not going to go out and buy a new car in the next few years. That's a good decision. No one can open anything in her name. Yes?
Backing up to that first point there, place an initial fraud alert. And did you say if you do it with just one of the companies, they then would tell other companies?
Yes. Now, when I'm talking about that, I'm not saying calling Target and placing a fraud alert. I'm saying calling and talking to Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax. And I will give you this brochure when you leave. It has all your information on identity theft right in it. So what you have to do is you can pick one of the 3. I don't care which one you pick. As long as you report it to one of them, they have to notify by law the other 2 agencies to put that on your account.
Okay, that's what okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so if you're a victim, I talked about putting the freeze on. Call companies where a fraud occurred. call, ABC store and tell them, hey, I just want you to know I have fraud from your store, just letting you know. The more they know, sometimes it can prompt them to understand something on their side might have been hacked or situations have happened. File a police report. And I encourage everybody that comes through our door that is a victim of any sorts of fraud to file a police report. Because you might bank with us, but you also might bank 4 other spots. And all these banks should be encouraging people to report any kind of scams, fraud. Not a lot the police officers can do, but there might be a dot that they can connect eventually to kind of tie this back. So it's always good to file that police report. Monitor your activity. It's your responsibility to kind of keep up what's going on in all your accounts. And then at the end, you may have to close and reopen accounts. We will, in a situation where we have debit card not present fraud, typically they have your debit card. We will not make you close your checking account out, but we will make you close out that debit card and open a new one. Because your debit card number's out there. They're gonna keep spending it until it's turned off or it's stopped. There are times where we've had to fully close out checking accounts. Someone wrote a check, it got intercepted through the mail, your account number's now out there. So we had to absolutely close that account to protect them and reopen a new one. So how to report, I guess I got ahead of myself, sorry about that. There are the 3 credit bureaus, they're listed right here: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. IdentityTheft.gov is a great website to go to if you ever have any sorts of issues. You can go right on there and file an identity theft alert. Remember, it's also a .gov website. It's trusted, it's known. When you start typing in, like Chad said, don't go to Google and type in password vaults. Same thing, when you want to type in identity theft, make sure you're going to a trusted website. IdentityTheft.gov, it's from the Federal Trade Commission. It's legitimate, it's a good site to use. The Federal Trade Commission also has other really great resources out there as well. So what can you do to protect your accounts? Talked about it, monitoring them through online, the app, your user statements. If possible, we really like you to use your home computer or your own personal device. We highly encourage you not to log in somewhere else if you can avoid that. I understand some people need to go to the public libraries to do it or a public agency to get on because they don't have a home computer. But try if you can to do that, or call us, come into the bank. We will happily give you your statements, we'll give you your information, we'll give you what's cleared, we'll have that conversation with you. You can set up alerts in your online banking. I set up 2 alerts on my new customers, so if you guys are brand new to the bank, I would set up 2 alerts with you right away, day 1, if you had the time. 1, I like to set a low threshold alert because I think it's important, if your balance is getting below a certain level, you're notified. And the second one I like to set up is that if someone tried to change your username or password, because no one else can hack into your system unless they change your username and password, unless you clicked on a link and then you gave them access, okay? So I'm smart enough for myself to go, I am comfortable, I'm not gonna click these links, I'm not gonna open these attachments, right? So I like that alert that if my password or my username were to ever be changed, I'm notified. And yep, I get a text that says it's been changed, I'm like, yep, I just did it. So I know that it's me. Always use a unique and strong password. Keep your contact information up to date. That's something that people seem to forget. You might go to USPS and change your address there. And yep, we might get information that says your address has changed, but we can't take that. I can go online right now to USPS and I can pay the $1, $2 and change anyone's address. So as a bank and a financial institution, we will not forward your statements and do that. It's your responsibility to make sure everyone that has your personal information, that your contact stuff is up to date. Enroll in fraud text alerts. I don't know if a lot of you know what this is, but if your debit card, and it's debit card only, if your debit card is used anywhere that our risk score says, this is iffy, I'm not sure if this is really Julie making this purchase, she's gonna get a text. And the text is basically gonna say, did you make a purchase at Walmart for $200? Yes, no. You confirm yes or no. If If it says, if you say yes, your transaction goes through and it processes clearly, everything's fine. You say no, it stops that fraudulent transaction, and then it freezes your card to be used for future, so that fraudster can't continue to drain your account. Okay? If you have an email address with us here at the bank, so if any email address, that's why this is also important to keep your personal. You're automatically enrolled in the email alerts, so you might get an email alert from us that says, did you do this? Most people aren't checking their email while they're standing in line at Target, but you're gonna have your phone with you. So the email's kind of hard to go through, but that is set up on anyone that has an email address. And then it's really important, notify us or any bank you bank with that you're traveling. And why? If I know you're flying, so I'm going to Chicago in a few weeks, and I could call the bank and say, hey, I'm leaving X date, I'll return this, I'm driving. So I'm leaving from River Falls and going to Chicago. That kind of gives them the heads up, like I could be stopping off at any of those little spots, those things. That does not guarantee your debit card is gonna always work in the city it says you're going to. Because you could be going to a store in that city that is very high risk based. You know, it's just like a credit card, everything's risk scored. So if you get a very high number, it's gonna stop your card no matter if you put a travel notice on. But for a bank, we know too, if we see something out of the ordinary. Oh, Julie's going to Colorado and this is it. Okay, that makes sense. She told us about this. We feel more comfortable about it. Okay?
Who would you go to at your bank then, the president or what?
No, you can just walk in and call.
You can call, walk in, you can tell anybody.
Okay.
Yep, you can call and say, hey, I just want to tell you guys I'm traveling. We have a travel form that we fill out, so we're going to ask you dates, where are you going? Is there a person we could contact if we can't get a hold of you? Right, so sometimes wherever you go, your phone might not work. But could we call, you know, a family member, a friend, you know, that may have other alternatives to get a hold of you.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. So that kind of wraps it up for us. I have a few things if you are interested. I have flyers on identity theft. I also have a book, it's called Money Smart for Older Adults. This was put together by the Federal Trade Commission and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Both really good resources to have. One thing I think is really important that you guys know is we're always here to help you. Our phone numbers are listed. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay to have that conversation. I hear a lot of times, you know, I have a vision impairment, or on the phone I have a hearing impairment. They are going to prey on you any way they can, and they will get to you if you're not strong enough to stop and think, right? Chad, no links. Think about that all the time. Just stop. Is it really that urgent? Because typically if it's that urgent, you have 15 other family members calling you saying something's going on. There's an emergency, or here's what we need to do. It's not typically one person. One last little thing I would say for this area, I've had a lot of customers call this branch specifically in the last couple weeks about an Amazon scam. It's not Amazon. It has nothing to do with Amazon. But everybody, as Chad said, buys something, and typically a lot of us buy something off Amazon. Okay? What they're doing is they're just picking random numbers, and they all seem to be 262 numbers, so that's you guys. And they're calling and just having that conversation of your identity was stolen and someone used your account with us and now you owe us this amount of money. So you know, the people have that conversation. But this scam is so smart now, they're going to transfer you to the manager. And then you talk to the manager and they're going to reiterate. Now then the manager is going to transfer you to the CEO. So you're believing it because they're moving you from one person to the other, blah, blah, blah. They're all fake. If you have a problem and you have Amazon, go to your Amazon online, see what your order history looks like. Go to Amazon, call Amazon's number, not the number they're telling you to call. Okay? So I'm seeing that right now a lot. And the other one is PayPal. And I laugh because when they come in and talk to me about PayPal, I don't have PayPal, and I get a PayPal email at least weekly that tells me there's a problem with my PayPal account. I don't even have a PayPal account. If you do not have an account with that business or that entity, just delete it. Just ignore it. They have nothing on you, and that's what people get concerned about is, well, how'd they get my email? Who cares how they got your email? Chad told you, your stuff's out there, okay? they got it, they have nothing else on you unless you take action to that. You click a link, you open an attachment, or you make a phone call, okay? So if you just go ahead and completely delete all those things, you're fine. Your computer's not overtaken. It can sit in your deleted items for a year. No one cares because nothing happened, okay? So those are a couple things I'm seeing down here right now. But Chad and I are here if you guys have more questions for a little bit. But thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. Hope we gave you some education. If you think of questions afterwards, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to the branch. Julie, ask Julie.
We all know Julie.
Right?
Also.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, you did a good job.